You wake up before your alarm, not because you're ready, but because your mind refuses to rest. The first breath you take feels heavier than the night before. Your chest rises, but it carries a weight that sleep couldn't lift. The sun leaks through the blinds, tracing faint lines across the walls, as if morning itself is reminding you of everything waiting for your attention. You reach for your phone. Before your eyes can fully adjust, the screen lights up with notifications, emails, missed calls, messages unanswered. Tiny demands, yet each one stacking like stones on your shoulders. You scroll almost on instinct, as if checking somehow gives you control. But all it does is pull you deeper into that familiar current, that quiet panic beneath your calm face. The list in your mind starts building meetings you cannot miss, decisions you have to make, conversations you've been avoiding, bills waiting, people expecting. Even the things you love start to feel like tasks. And while the world sees you functioning inside, you're silently negotiating with yourself just to make it through another day. You sip your coffee, but it's not for the taste. It's for the permission it gives you to keep going. The warm cup in your hands feels like the only small comfort you allow yourself. Behind every movement, every forced smile, every polite answer, there is this invisible thread pulling tight across your chest. You've been carrying it for so long that you've almost forgotten what life felt like before the weight settled in. The pressure to hold everything together, to always be composed, always be available, always be capable. You wear strength like armor, but the truth is, you're exhausted. Not exhausted because you're weak, but because you've been fighting life's current, trying to shape it, force it, hold it together with your bare hands. And every day you whisper to yourself, just one more push, just a little more effort. But somewhere deep inside, there's a quieter voice, the one you've learned to ignore. It whispers, maybe you don't have to hold it all. Maybe you were never meant to. Yet the noise of responsibility drowns it out. The world around you rewards the ones who appear in control, who keep smiling, who never falter. And so you keep performing, you keep running, you keep holding. But holding, endlessly holding, comes at a cost. The cost isn't always visible, not in broken pieces, but in the slow erosion of your peace. In the way your breath shortens, your sleep grows restless, your joy becomes dimmed, and you wonder silently, is this what life is supposed to feel like? You move through the world like an actor who's memorized every line. The scenes change, the people shift, but your performance remains the same. Smile when they expect it. Nod when they need reassurance. Speak with confidence, even when doubt echoes inside you. You've become so good at playing strong that most people can't see the tremble in your hands beneath the table, the tightening in your chest before every conversation, the silent war you fight with your own thoughts before each decision. The world applauds this performance. They praise your resilience, admire your dedication, and tell you how much they envy your strength. But they don't see the price you pay for their applause. Behind every perfectly timed response is the pressure to never falter. Behind every moment of leadership is the weight of being the one who cannot afford to fall apart. You carry not only your own expectations, but the silent expectations of everyone who leans on you, believes in you, depends on you. And somewhere along the way, you stopped asking yourself if you even want to play this role anymore. There's a loneliness in being the strong one, a quiet kind of isolation that grows with each passing day. Because while others feel safe leaning on you, you rarely find a place to lean yourself. You've built a life where you hold space for everyone else's emotions, while yours remain tucked away in the corners of your mind, waiting for a moment that never seems to come. You've trained yourself to stay ahead of every problem, to anticipate every need to solve every issue before it fully arrives. Control has become your safety net, your way of keeping chaos at bay. But control, for all its comfort, is nothing more than a fragile illusion. Because deep down, you know the truth. Life was never designed to be fully controlled. Still, you wake up each day and step back onto the stage, adjusting your mask, perfecting your lines, convincing even yourself that this is normal, that this is what strength looks like, that one day, if you manage to hold it all long enough, peace will finally arrive. But peace doesn't come from performing. Peace doesn't arrive when every box is checked, every plan executed, every outcome secured. Peace lives somewhere else, somewhere quieter, somewhere you've been too busy to visit. And the longer you perform, the further away it seems. And then, almost without warning, something inside you stops. It doesn't explode. It doesn't crash. It simply releases. You wake up one morning, and for the first time in what feels like forever, you don't have the energy to pretend. Not because you're defeated, but because you're done carrying what was never yours to hold. The world outside continues spinning, but inside, something shifts. You exhale, not a deep cathartic breath, but a quiet one, like air escaping from a balloon, slowly losing pressure. The weight that once sat heavy on your chest slips away, not because the burdens are gone, but because you've stopped gripping them. There's no grand announcement, no dramatic surrender, just a quiet letting go. For the first time, you don't check your phone right away. You sit still, allowing the silence to surround you without panic. The world feels strangely unfamiliar, not because it's changed, but because you have. The tension that once buzzed under your skin fades. The mental calculations, the need to anticipate every next move, the desperate planning, they all loosen their grip. And in their place, there's simply space. You realize how much noise you've been living with, how loud your mind has been constantly narrating, controlling, fixing. And now, with that noise gone, you hear something else, a soft rhythm, like the quiet hum of life itself, steady and gentle. It was always there. You were simply too busy to notice. In this stillness, life doesn't fall apart. It breathes. The people around you still go about their days. The world doesn't collapse because you stop trying to hold it together. And that truth surprises you more than you expect. You see, control always promised safety. It told you that if you held tight enough, nothing bad could happen. But what it never told you was how much life you were missing while you were busy gripping so hard. By releasing your need to manage every detail, you begin to witness something softer unfolding. Life starts moving not away from you, but toward you. Not because you forced it, but because you finally stepped aside. It's strange how everything shifts when you're no longer standing in your own way. You start to notice small moments, a kindness from a stranger, an opportunity that appears effortlessly, a sense of ease in conversations that once drained you. People respond differently to your presence, sensing something lighter in your energy. And inside, you feel it too, that delicate balance between surrender and strength. Not weakness, not failure, but the kind of strength that no longer needs to prove itself. In letting go, you find what control could never give you peace. For so long, you believed control was your safety. You thought if you could plan far enough ahead, prepare thoroughly enough, anticipate every possible turn, you would finally find peace. But peace never lived there. Control whispered its lies gently, at first convincing you that mastery over every detail would keep you safe from pain, disappointment, failure. It promised protection from the unknown, as if you could outthink uncertainty itself. But the more you chased control, the tighter your grip became. And the tighter you gripped, the more fragile everything felt. Like holding water in your hands, the harder you tried to contain it, the faster it slipped through your fingers. Because life was never meant to be held. It was meant to be lived. You mistook planning for security. You mistook worry for preparation. You mistook tension for responsibility. But deep inside, your body always knew the truth. That tight chest, that buzzing mind, that shallow breath, they were never signs of being prepared. They were symptoms of fear. And the great illusion is this: no amount of control has ever truly stopped life from unfolding on its own terms. The people who left still left. The plans that failed still collapsed. The surprises still arrived, no matter how many scenarios you rehearsed in your head. The truth is painfully simple. Control cannot promise safety. It only promises exhaustion. Life was never asking you to control it. It was inviting you to participate in its rhythm. Like music, there is timing, there is flow. You don't command the song, you dance to it. And when you stiffen, when you panic, when you demand certainty, you lose the beat. You move against the melody rather than within it. And so you stumble, you falter, you fall behind, not because life is cruel, but because you forgot how to trust the rhythm you were always meant to follow. There is a quiet intelligence woven into the fabric of life that no amount of micromanaging can replace. The detours, the delays, the unanswered questions, they are not mistakes to be fixed. They are part of the unfolding that you were never meant to fully understand. But fear blinds you to this wisdom. Fear says, if you don't control it, you'll lose it. If you stop pushing, everything will fall apart. If you let go, you'll be left behind. But trust says something softer. You were never holding it to begin with. It was never yours to control. Your job was only to move with it, not against it. And when you finally see through the myth of control, something loosens inside you. The constant tightening, the chronic bracing, it all begins to soften. You realize you don't have to manufacture every outcome. You don't have to force every door open. Because what is meant for you was never dependent on your ability to manipulate it. It was always finding its way, even while you were too busy managing to notice. And now, finally, you see it. Not as something you must chase, but as something that's always been waiting for you to simply allow. There is a strength that no one teaches you. Not the kind that shows up in loud victories or flawless plans, but the kind that blooms in stillness. The kind that appears when you finally stop reaching. You always thought stillness was passive, that to stand still meant to give up. That resting your mind, releasing your grip was weakness. But you were never taught that stillness holds its own kind of power, a quiet authority that doesn't need to announce itself. Because when you stop moving out of fear, you begin to move from presence. Your breath slows, your mind softens, and in that space you feel something you haven't felt in years yourself. The world outside remains noisy. People still rush, Deadlines still exist, but inside you become unshaken. It's not that storms no longer arrive, they do, but they no longer own you. You've become the calm center inside the spinning wheel. And in that calm, people sense something different about you. They lean toward you without knowing why. They feel safe around you, not because you have all the answers, but because your presence no longer asks for anything in return. You're no longer performing. You're no longer seeking approval or validation. You're no longer calculating every word, every glance, every reaction. Instead, you listen. You observe. You respond from a place of grounded knowing rather than anxious reacting. And that stillness becomes magnetic, not because you intended it to be, but because most people are trapped in urgency, and you are not. You've broken free from the endless grasping that once ruled you. You've stepped into a new rhythm, one where life meets you halfway. People call it confidence, but it's not. It's trust. A trust you've built moment by moment by learning to stay still inside uncertainty. You no longer chase attention, it finds you. You no longer demand love, it flows toward you. You no longer force outcomes, they unfold naturally. Because true power was never about control. It was always about alignment. When your energy no longer carries desperation, tension, or fear, life responds differently. Doors open. Conversations deepen. Opportunities arrive without effort. And you realize this was never about doing more. It was always about becoming more available to receive. Stillness is not absence. It's presence without strain. It's the kind of power that whispers rather than shouts. The power that says, I am here, and that is enough. There comes a moment when you stop asking life to hurry, when you no longer beg for signs or search for guarantees, when you no longer barter with the unknown, hoping it will show you mercy if only you try hard enough. Instead, you simply trust, not blindly, not recklessly, but with a steady kind of knowing that says, whatever comes, I will meet it. Whatever stays, I will welcome it. Whatever leaves, I will release it. You realize now, all those years you spent forcing, chasing, overthinking life was never punishing you. It was simply waiting for you to soften, waiting for you to make space, waiting for you to come home to yourself. And when you finally do, everything looks different. Not because life changed, but because you did. You see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You hear invitations where you once heard threats. You feel alignment where you once felt resistance. Even time itself seems to shift, no longer your enemy, but your companion. And people respond to this version of you, not because you've become more impressive, but because you've become more honest. They sense your steadiness, your openness, your absence of urgency. You no longer walk into rooms needing to prove your worth. You carry it quietly within you. You no longer seek attention. Your presence carries enough gravity on its own. The truth is, most people spend their lives standing outside the door of peace, knocking desperately, hoping to be let in. But peace was never behind a locked door. It was always inside you, waiting for you to be still enough to hear it. And now you do. You see, surrender isn't about giving up. It's about giving in to the wisdom that life holds far more for you than your mind ever could. You don't need to manipulate every outcome. You don't need to predict every turn. You don't need to manufacture every breakthrough. You simply allow. You allow the right people to find you. You allow the right moments to unfold. You allow yourself to receive without chasing. And as you live from this place, life begins to mirror back a softer reality. The more you trust, the less you need to try. The less you force, the more life flows. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's alignment. And so every time you feel that old, pull the urge to control, to grip, to push, pause. Take a breath. Remember this place, this quiet knowing, the place where you no longer stand in your own way, where life responds not because you chased it, but because you finally allowed it to find you.